networking event, and I want to meet a lot of great minds. I mean, I go to a lot of these kind of events, and it's usually always the same people. And what I like about Afrobytes is it's bringing people from different parts of the world, but who have a common vision and different perspectives. I like the program. I like the fact that they chose me as a keynote speaker, so that's a good sign. But the reality is there's so much diversity in this program. You have people coming in from the US, you have people coming in from Europe, Africa, and the common theme is, where is technology taking Africa? So from my perspective, I feel like I may be a specialist in this field, but I'm going to learn a lot. So that's really the anticipation for me. Well, I would say that my own sector, which is media, I'm hoping that that will be the industry that will rock it. But if I'm going to be completely objective, I really believe that remittances and mobile payments are going to be a huge industry in Africa. Why? Because it participates in what we call active solidarities. And there's so many people sending money across Africa, to Africa, and then from Africa to other parts of the world, that I believe that that industry is going to be huge. So the people who can figure it out are the ones who are going to make a lot of money. I think everybody's really telling the Africa Rising story, and it's very interesting from a media perspective, of course. But there's also a lot of cheerleading. You know, we want Africa to succeed because for so long Africa was the basket case. But the reality is there's a lot of Africas, and the complexities that come with the continent and the way that it's being shaped now through technology are things that we have to write about. And I get really tired of all these blanket statements about Africa is this, Africa is that. The reality is, if you go from where I was born, Lomé in Togo, and cross the border into Ghana, you're dealing with an entirely different reality. Not just because of the language barrier, but also because attitudes have changed. So I think it's really important to understand that there are many kinds of Africa, but then everybody is driven by optimism. A lot of arguments, but the main one would have to be demographics. I mean, we have to remember that there's more children born in Nigeria every year than in the entire European Union. So if you look at that, that's a real change factor. And then the forces that are driving this are the creativity of these young Africans who are now entering the labor force, and some of them are unemployed, but they have to fend for themselves and find solutions. And that's what I find really exciting, is the kind of solutions that are imagined in underserved communities. Well, it's just the numbers. You know, when I go to Lomé, the first thing that people want me to bring back is a smartphone. So those numbers don't lie. When you go to any marketplace, the main mode of communication is mobile, and the smartphone is the #1 object of desire. So because my nephews, because my cousins, they all want a smartphone, then I can't really ignore those signals. I'm not really one of those Afro-optimists who just believe that, you know, it's all going to work out because Africa's creative, because young people are taking over. I'm much more critical in my assessments of where Africa is going, just because I feel like a lot of people need to be shaken up. A lot of people need to be motivated in different ways, and I think Africa needs to find its own growth models, its own development models, which is not necessarily about the consumerism that you see in the West, but about the values of hospitality, generosity, and creativity that can lift populations out of poverty.
Thank you.
Thank you.